Okay. Am I on? I did. Yep. Okay, I think it's 5 o'clock and Denny is not coming.
Right.
And then we have everyone else, I believe, here. So I'm going to just jump right on it and call the meeting to order. So we have everyone here except Denny Knapp. First thing on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Are there any changes or other things to the agenda that we know of? Okay, I'll move approval of the agenda.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay. Motion second to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion? All right, any other discussion? So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so approval of the minutes. I had some question whether we do discussion or whether we move to approve them and then the discussion. I can't remember.
You make the motion and second first, and then open up for
And then we do
discussion.
the discussion. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the minutes? And a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Kevin, I had a question, and it's probably going to be covered in your director's report, but it was the part about the receipt printer. That was something that you were going to look into, and I'm guessing that's going to be covered later. Okay. And same with the, we talked about the second or third signature on the bank account, and all of that is also on the agenda for this month. So, okay. So, any other discussion on the minutes? Any corrections or? People have to have their names spelled right, and it all looks perfect to me. So, if not, Kevin, you will hear me. Anything else? Okay. So, no corrections. So, do we just call for approval of the minutes? Okay. So, all those in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? All right. So, we go on to the director's report.
Okay, well, it's been a month already.
It's been a month.
How
a
you
month
doing?
and 2 days, right?
I think last month my nose was above water, and now I think my mouth is above water, so I'm doing better. So I have about 7 things that I want to talk about. The one, not all of them were, I didn't do a written report for all of them, but the written report that is in the agenda is the statistical dashboard, and I handed out an updated one that's updated to what was put, submitted online, because I noticed, especially if you caught it, I noticed one error in a formula that it looked like our monthly average of circulation was way higher. The formula was still from February and divided by 2 instead of 7. And so I'll just go over this.
It does say at the top 3/12/20,
Oh,
No, that's probably left over from the,
and that should be what date then?
this past week, so
so it's through July,
um,
not through August.
it's through July, yes. Yeah.
So
So it includes July numbers. There are a couple of these tables, and I'll point those out, that I did not get updated.
okay.
And so I'll go over each one. There are a couple I want to go over. Interlibrary loan.
So all the requests don't get filled?
Oh, no. I mean, there's a lot of requests that, I mean, let's say another library sends us a request for a book and it's checked out, so we can't fill it, and it goes on to the next library then.
Okay.
Because a request will be sent to multiple libraries in a string of, and there may be things that, even just today, we had a patron call in and ask if we could get this book that was just published in the last 2 weeks. Well, we've ordered it, but even if a library did have it, we wouldn't be able to get it because it was too new and they would, so that would be an unfilled request too. And when we report our numbers to the state library on a monthly basis, we're supposed to be reporting billed requests, not total requests that we received or sent out. So I did go back and redo all of 2020, and going forward, that will be. I mean, I could spend time.
Don't.
But
You can
I
just-
was just
no.
a little surprised.
We can put a comment in the 2020 year that says from this point forward, the numbers are filled requests and not just requests.
Well, and that's what we're supposed to report.
Report,
to the
okay.
library. So, yeah, that's one thing I've
Found already.
discovered. Post is paid. I have not updated that for, because
I don't know if it needs to be tracked. It wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know if that's something, I think the way it was described to me was that they did want to keep track of how much we're spending on postage, kind of like for interlibrary loans, to see, if we didn't want to do as much interlibrary loan. But I'm a big believer of resource sharing, and if our patrons need something, I want other libraries to fill them and send their materials to our patrons, and so, but then there's that reciprocal responsibility of if some other library asks us for one of our books or things, that we should do it.
Was there
But
any,
yet it does kind of depend on, budgetary issues, but.
was that connected at all with doing away with the fines?
No.
No, that didn't have any
It had to
bearing
do
on
with the interlibrary loan and what we mailed, what we paid to mail things out to people.
it, but not like sending overdue notices or anything like that? Was that any part of that?
No,
I don't think.
That was
I
before I came on
think
board.
the way this was described to me is this was only for postage for letters.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and
if
that's
it's not important to you, I may just drop it off.
Okay,
in the information that we used to get from Jackie. The postage was part of the interlibrary loan table, and that was it.
okay. Okay.
There still is. There's a nominal charge of $1. If somebody requests something, that's just to help cover postage, which if we get it from a out-of-state library, they send it to us. They don't charge us for postage, and then we send it back, and it's just covered that way. And it's typically sent off or library rate, which is the cheapest rate for the Postal Service. If we get it from another library in the state, like one of the main libraries our size, or it goes on a courier service that's paid for up front, and so there's really not a postage fee associated with it.
Jackie
So-
used to track courier savings, and I asked her
Yeah.
about it. It's like, the people are employed anyway. I'm not
Right.
really sure it's a saving.
We do have to.
It's a cost avoidance.
But we do have to, for the state library, at the end of each month, we need to report to the state library the number of items that come in and go out on the courier, because that's something that they have to report and keep track of, because they put money into helping pay for the courier service. So, okay,
So if it's okay with everybody, I'm going to take that off.
Okay.
Remove that from future reports. Revenue totals, I just want to indicate that I added in the second to last column, donations, that typically had been kind of put in with miscellaneous. But,
No,
yeah.
well,
well, yeah,
Yeah.
but I thought, I don't know, I mean, it's not that big of a deal to add it in, and then you can say
Yep.
how much, if anybody donates. It's kind
Okay.
of funny. Someone may buy, X number of used books, and then they give, it may come to $9.60, and they'll just give it to them, they keep the rest. So then we
got to put it someplace.
we keep track that as a donation then.
Okay.
Library cards issued is low for the year. I haven't figured out why, our numbers are lower this year. I mean, in some ways it's maybe similar to 2014, but we've had many months that we were closed.
Yeah.
So that's some of it.
And then just be aware, as school starts, we should pick up the sixth graders from sixth grade at John Paul II and the new sixth graders at the middle school. So there could be a couple hundred that would come in.
I know that one of the English teachers at the high school has been talking to Cindy about, she's fearful that school will be closed and they'll go to online learning. So she's working ahead of, she's working to make sure her students have access to South Dakota titles to go overdrive, so they can have access to all the ebooks that we have.
Yeah.
And so that she's going to get her students library cards.
Make sure. Okay.
So.
Do we have some kind of a relationship with the schools and where they're required to buy a subscription membership, or how does that?
They get it free with their school ID, and their school ID will work with the system at the library, and we started that. People aren't here anymore. I can look back on the
I would say it was more than 2 years.
2017.
It was prior to me being on the board.
2017, where you see the young adult library card number at whatever that number is,
Went up.
14. Where,
No. And it would make sense and then the next year, I mean,
and that's what we added, everybody from the high school down to 7th grade at 6th grade at one time, and then after that, just the 6th graders, just the new
Sure.
people came in. Because we tried to pull all the schools. So prior to 2017, we didn't have that relationship. But from that point on, we did.
Great idea.
So,
So for the Wesleyan and MTI, do they pay for their membership?
no, they just have to come in and request it. The subscription pay memberships are outside of the city. And part
Outside
it-
of Davison County.
Yeah, and outside of the county. So we get some Hanson, and we get some Aurora County, and Hutchinson,
Sanborn.
Sanborn. Then the county gives us $6,500 a year, or at least is supposed to, if we make sure we bill them. So make sure we always bill them, because we forgot to do that one year.
Oh, no.
And then we were just SOL, so,
Yeah, that was good with it.
Okay.
yeah. So we tried to push the library card in use, and I think Jackie said at one, there might be some preschool that also, but we deal with the age situation there as to whether,
Typically, preschool children aren't going to have their own library
card,
but
but-
their parents would check out. for
Right.
them.
I like the idea if they have a house team, if they share money for any other nonprofits or groups in town. It would be good to do a push to,
Faith Home School over by the hospital. Those are the ones that we have listed, requested from history. If there are other.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't mean that there aren't, individuals who live and work with LifeQuest that they don't have a card.
Right.
Because I know, because one of my staff, we had a phone call from somebody saying this person would like us to pick out some books. And so then I found out that this was a LifeQuest resident, and so, they have cards too.
So is there a way, is there a number on here that shows the total costs that are out there right now? So it's just a new ones that are issued each year?
No, but
No, and
we could run that, if you would like.
Great.
Yeah.
That question has been asked before, and
Okay.
the answer was it'd be very difficult, but I don't know.
Well, I
how
don't know
difficult.
why it would be difficult.
Right.
You just look in our database of how
I-
many people we have.
I
You
know.
understand databases?
Yes.
So I would,
That's why I was
According to-
confused by the answer that I always
according to
got.
that, though, there may be some that are inactive.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah,
you know,
Maybe it should be
still,
as a percentage of population.
yeah.
yeah. Uh-oh, did you? lose
Well, and
one?
that, no, it would
Count as two
count as,
cards.
because we would run a report as to how many patron records we have. And so you'd be two. That's-
Yeah, that would be, if you could.
That
run
just means you're more special. Okay, I'm going to move on to meeting room use total, and I updated it as well and put parentheses, programming participation, because if you notice, starting in March, the numbers jumped significantly.
Yeah.
And starting in March, we went to online programming. And so these numbers are, including online programming participation, like people who have watched, watched the live, connected live to when Jean Patrick's doing her, readings at noon, or even then, those are recorded and still available. And she can even look to see when, at what time of the day people are watching those, and
Oh, that's a good update.
seemingly, there are parents who are then connecting in, with their tablet or something and having, let's have Mrs. Jean
Story time.
do story time at bedtime. And so, and so we've done, for the preschoolers, the elementary kids, we've done YA online programming. And so these numbers are showing a higher participation. But the one thing similar to Deb's question about for two cards is, it's going to count, if you come in and connect and watch it a second time, it's going to count it.
Well, what about, I see Jean's face all the time on Facebook, and I kind of scroll past it, but sometimes it looks like it's starting to have a video. Is that counting as a?
So what Facebook does, because you get all those statistics off Facebook, you actually have to click and watch it. I mean, you don't have to watch the whole thing, but as long as you click on it, then it will
Okay,
count it
so
as
if
a
I'm
view.
just seeing it's Jean, it's
Yeah.
a little kid's story.
Yeah, if it's on your
obviously, I'm not gonna
timeline,
see
it won't count as a view unless you click on it, then it'll count as a view.
Okay.
So, but those are, I think, impressive numbers for, and so I think that will mean that in the future,
From my perspective, that's really good to show the library use.
It
we
is.
need to, even when we're able to bring back face-to-face programming, we will need to continue online programming.
Yeah.
People appreciate the flexibility.
Sure.
And so we will have to do both.
Do you think it'd be beneficial to split that, to have your, in-person versus your virtual?
Well, when we're able to do face-to-face, we'll have to see if it may be a combination, or we'll do, I think, Jean's online story time will probably continue as that, but when we do live face-to-face programming, if we can record it or broadcast it live as well and have it there, more people would be able to go back and watch it, or watch it who they just can't get away and come to the library.
I think the question, and from my standpoint, is if 99%, while we're closed, it's going to be, there's nobody there in person, right? But when we get back open, is the room actually physically being used?
Yeah.
So you're saying at that point, can we split it out to say who's actually in the room and then who's watching?
Oh, well, yeah, I think we would continue to do that like we do. If you go into that spreadsheet, because I sent this, and
Do you have
I can send you the whole spreadsheet again, because then there are other tabs that, this dashboard summary page pulls from, and on the back pages, other tabs, it's broken down into.
You're keeping track of it that way, these are just the totals?
Yeah,
Okay.
these are the total.
That's all I...
Yeah, we're keeping track of that, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, and then on the next page, for whatever reason in the past, you were also reporting just story time.
Yeah.
So that was the little ones. So those numbers, seemingly these are the more story time.
And these include the virtual ones too?
Yep.
Okay.
And so for that age group, 7863 compared to 16,500 total, so not quite half.
Okay.
Then the ebook titles downloaded, that is, that I think we're on track there.
Okay. And my only comment there, and I keep looking at, from a historical standpoint, we've struggled, which services should we use, which ones should we not use, which ones are the best bang for the buck, or have the newest titles, or allow you to easily have multiple copies, easiest, that type of stuff. And so I would look to you as that goes forward, is there a better way, or easier way, or a way that we can actually even promote or advertise what we have available in that way?
My answer is libraries need to provide all of it, because in libraries want to provide information to people, connect people with information, no matter the format, in whatever format they want. And so, if Deb is a traditional print reader, then we're going to want to have it.
My point is that we had, at one point, I think we had 5 ebook providers. We were paying some sort of fee for all 5 of them, and one of them we had 6 downloads in a year. Should we continue it?
Okay, yeah. Well,
and we finally, throw that one out. Well, we offended somebody. And
some of that is by nature of the beast, kind of consolidating.
Yep.
And Overdrive, which is the big ebook subscription that we have, has now this year purchased recorded books where we get audio books. And so there's some consolidation.
And that's happening just in the industry? Okay.
But even I had that conversation today with Ben we have, books,
books on tape.
Now the CD, but you have multiple formats.
Yep.
But you have books on CD, but then there's this little, called a play-away. So it's books on a play-away, which is basically an MP3 player that you can check out and read and plug your earphone jack into that. But you can't use Bluetooth and connect that to your phone or to your car. So again, I had this conversation with him just today. Going forward, what technology do we need to, maybe we need to stop buying these little playaways, because how many of you have earphones with a physical,
I still have some, one.
yeah, and how often do you use it? Or how many people have Bluetooth earphones or a Bluetooth speaker? I mean, I said, I couldn't take this little playaway device home and listen to it because I've got a Bluetooth speaker that, and I use my Apple Music subscription to listen to music, or Spotify or whatever, or you download an audiobook onto your phone, and as you're driving, if your car can play Bluetooth, you're going to listen to it that way. So those are decisions, that we have to also make as to what technologies, when do we stop a certain technology?
Yeah.
When do we stop purchasing it, but yet we'll maintain the ones that we did spend?
So are we still putting in the newspaper or advertising somewhere what our new books are? Because now the paper only prints twice a week. Do we even do that anymore?
Well, as far as I know, my staff, Zach told me, they continue to do that.
Okay, because I don't remember seeing
Tuesday
it.
e-edition?
Wednesday and Saturday are the days.
No, those are print,
Yeah.
but the e-edition comes out every day.
Oh, right. So it's in
And
one of the
still-
e-editions?
I thought it was still on page
Okay, I
2
just don't really
of the
remember seeing it
e-edition.
lately. Okay, so here's my thing, Kevin. Put the new e-books in there too, but they're not always on there.
Okay.
Oh,
And this has been, this was
Well-
asked for about a year ago, happened a month or two, and now it's not again, so.
Okay. That's a good idea. The one potential difficulty with that is, the ones that we first, as our library selects and purchases, that's easy to do. New titles that show up in Overdrive, subsequent titles to go.
That's not the same as what shows up on,
We may not necessarily be able to. Well, they're new titles to everybody, but unless we specifically go and run a report as to here are the new titles, and we just need to put that into our procedure. So we need to make sure we also get the new titles from that. But we also have to kind of fight for across the state.
okay, so in Overdrive, when you're requesting something and it might say there's 42 requests ahead of you, that's kind of like the whole state?
Sometimes, yeah.
It could be, okay. I didn't really think, I thought that must be true, because I couldn't imagine that many people would want
Yeah,
the book that I want to read. But even if you just put in the ones, either way that you want to do it is fine with me. It's just, I have a lot of e-books that I like to read, and it's good to know what's available.
Well, and I guess I'll ask.
And maybe audiobooks too, I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say all new digital books,
Maybe.
audiobooks, and.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't, some part of that would be something I would appreciate personally.
All right, that's a great idea. Okay, then ebooks, the computer use in the library, that we haven't had as much computer use because there have been as many people in, and then.
when we are open, are they being used,
Yeah.
utilized?
And they're being used now. And I'll just say one thing that we've done, for computer use, I haven't tracked it, but, with the e-edition of the newspaper, people can't come into the library on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and read the newspaper. And they can't read the newspaper now anyway, because we haven't been putting out newspapers and magazines, because you don't want somebody breathing all over the newspaper, and then you come and sit down and use it after that. And so, we haven't been putting them out. But we have our e-edition account set up now, and it's installed on at least one computer, public use computer, and so we have a bookmark there so that if somebody wants to come in and sit down and read the newspaper, they can do that. And then the titles, the checkouts that are there. And actually, I don't think that is so bad. This is corrected over what I had put in the agenda. But the total number of titles is we're on track to beat 2014, 2013. The other years since then, we probably won't beat, but I think that's doing pretty well with buildings being closed. So that's the statistic.
All right. I appreciate you doing this, because I was talking to Steve, I don't know if you overheard that, but he used to give us this, but it wasn't easily printable, and so I appreciate you making it a little bit more easily printable.
Well, and I wanted to get this, I spent a fair amount of time.
I'm sure you did.
Sure. And getting all of them recorded but I also wanted to.
Sure. Well, we appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, next thing, receipt printer. You all last month approved that. Just today, I got the invoice, but I'll tell you the story. I wanted to get a network printer and not one that was just connected USB to one computer. And the printer that was listed on that sheet from our Atrium system, then I read some reviews and places that wasn't great. So I wanted to, but the Epson printer, receipt printer was great. Well, the one they listed was just one you plugged in USB to one computer. So I borrowed that printer I told you about from last month from Dakota West Wind Library to make sure that it would work with our system, and we got it running, and it worked great. That we liked it. So then I made them an offer, and yesterday they accepted my offer of $150 for a used printer that didn't have much use. Ours will be that on my, actually I have invoice for that
Okay.
to approve.
Perfect.
Here are a couple of things that happened this past month. I got an email from the state library, one of the state library staff members telling me that the state library pays for this service available to all public libraries in the state called Who-Fi, which allows you to collect information from your Wi-Fi, your wireless network. And so I talked to Andrew, the IT guy for the city, and said, hey, what do you think? Can we get this already? And he said, well, not everything that they're saying they collect or report on. So I handed out to you just one report, and we just got this going last week. This is like 5 days worth of data. But if you, once school starts or once we have more people coming into the library, I'm sure these numbers will go up. But you can see the total number of devices connected, the busiest times of the day. So you have the busiest hour is Friday. We've only had one Friday. Friday, the 2 o'clock hour. The least busy Saturday, 7 p.m. And the hour of gathering. There are other reports too, but I just wanted to print off and hand out to you all.
I want to know who's using it at midnight to 1 a.m.
Well, and it's just one. Well, it's also interesting because Andrew told me that our Wi-Fi is on a timer that shuts off when the library is closed. shut down completely or it's throttled back. But you know, there could be high school kids doing research for their paper out in the parking lot at 2 a.m. Yeah, but people, we hand out the password. What? Well, okay. I actually connected to the staff. Okay.
So this is just another way to analyze
Yeah.
what we're doing with our Wi-Fi. Okay.
Yep.
And we'll be talking later again about, you know, additional wireless access points. I would hope that it would be even higher once we add those in. Another service, I had an email from, some of you all may remember Shanice Farrens.
Mhm.
Emailed me. She's working for the 211 helpline center,
Oh.
statewide now. And, you know, I got a generic email from her. She's probably coming out to lots of libraries, but your library in your community, we'd like to have you do an entry. And so I went in and I saw that other towns already have their public libraries entered, and so I submitted an entry. So Mitchell's Public Library and the 211 Helpline Center is listening now. August 3rd was the deadline for a state library grant application. That you could request $2,000. We submitted that. We asked for money to help pay for some, those additional access points to extend our wireless network. We also had to ask for a new computer because that was one of the requirements of the grant, that if your public access computers were older than 2 years old, you need to include that in such a request. And unfortunately, we didn't get it. They were promoting that grant program quite a bit, a lot more applications than they ended up being able to fund. And then, so another grant program, the South Dakota Humanities Council has CARES Act money still available. And so they have a new deadline of August 31st for round 2. And public libraries, it's to help humanities-related institutions, but public libraries are eligible. And institutions that have budgets over $500,000 are eligible to ask for up to $20,000. So we plan on asking for that. Again, I don't know if we'll get it, but I plan on including projects for the wireless access points to extend our wireless network, video people counters that we talked about in the past, and electric door lock on the community room. All the other doors have the electric locks inside. It would be convenient to have that as well. You don't have to carry a physical key. And then, so that's some tech projects. And then we also want to request money to buy new furniture. You all may think, why? We just renovated the library and bought new furniture 5 years ago. Some of that cloth furniture is looking a bit grimy, but it's all cloth furniture. And we want to get some furniture that would be more vinyl or more easily sanitized. And so I think, we can certainly push that as a CARES Act related project.
Furniture, easily cleanable.
That makes sense.
Oh, because we could just go around and spray sanitizer on it and let it dry. Okay, and then my last thing for my report is I have,
This is me.
I have gotten a trial set up for a new database, for a database called the Newspaper Archive. Actually, Dakota Wesleyan has it, but I think it's important that Mitchell Public Library have it for this reason. the Mitchell paper is full text searchable in this database from the 1880s or whenever up to about 1975, 77. And there are people who come to the library asking, can you search in the Mitchell paper for obituary of my relative who died and so? I had that happen just 2 weeks ago. This person from Iowa was looking for his relative who lived in Davidson County, Mitchell, who died during World War II. So I thought, if we have this database, people would be able to search their hometown paper. Plus, it's $1,082, but we wouldn't get just Mitchell. We'd get for that price, we get the Central U.S. collection, which was South Dakota, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, and North Dakota, Oklahoma. So all the papers that are there. If you scroll up, or scroll down a little bit, those are all the South Dakota newspapers. The main ones, Huron is available as well, so another significant paper in our area. And right now, if we would become a new subscriber, they're offering to digitize our microfilm for free and include it for access. Well, that is awesome. But there are some issues that, all of the Mitchell paper up to the 77-ish is included. We have the Mitchell paper on microfilm from that point through when the state prison in Springfield stopped microfilming the papers through December 2019. But that's all still under copyright law. So we would have to work out a deal with the newspaper, the publishers of the paper, to get permission that we could make it available and searchable. We also have, though, microfilm of an old Ethan paper that from the 1920s or so. That's in public domain, so we don't have any issues with copyright there. And an old Fulton and Hanson County paper. And so we could get those digitized and have available as well. And so I will send out to you links tomorrow. But let's just do one search right there. Let's do that same search you did of Negebauer. And scroll up a little bit. How many results did we get? We got 16 results.
That's not the way we spell Negebauer.
That's not the correct way to spell it.
N-E-U.
N-E-U-G-E.
Well, there's this thing about her too.
Well, because I knew I
And
couldn't.
then you will have a million of
Yeah.
them,
Is that right?
possibly.
Now how many?
1,100.
There you go, yeah.
So, and if you look over on the right-hand side, in the 1900s, so the first decade, there were 21, so it shows you how many results in each decade.
Huh,
So you can narrow it by year, so if you were looking for a relative or whatever.
that's awesome.
Well, and this is South Dakota. We're not just searching, the Mitchell paper. We could limit.
Sure.
But you can see that the
That's
Mitchell
awesome.
paper has the most results. And so I know that I don't have anything in the city budget, but I wanted to come to the board to say, present this. I'll send out the link tomorrow to you with information of how you can get into it and try it out and play with it.
Is this
Diana, if
$1,000?
you're on campus, you can just do it over there. Yeah, $1,082. And the other thing I'll say is, we had a staff member who seemingly a fair amount of, or what she did was, clip out obituaries in the paper and take them to index cards, and then, to me, that just seems a bit outdated. And if I would rather take the money and put it in a tool like this, where people can search themselves, rather than we spend so much physical time and effort cutting and pasting.
So is this $1,000 per year?
Yes, it's a subscription.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, I think it sounds great.
So, I think what I'll do, though, I'm not going to ask for approval this year, because I didn't put it on the agenda like that.
Okay.
But I wanted to present it to you, let you know that I have this trial.
Sure.
And we can, it's a 30-day trial, and that I could get them to extend it an extra week
Sure.
until our next month's meeting.
That'd be great.
I think that's a great idea.
I do too.
Presumably because it's software, we can track the number of searches, so we can see at the end of the first year how much people
Yeah.
are using it, see if it's worth renewing
Yeah.
again. And really, the only thing we need to make sure, if we get it, to promote it.
Yeah.
People
and-
know that we have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
And
it's such a good tool.
it would be available on the library's website, this is one of our databases that you could, but we would certainly also promote it as a new tool for people to
Yeah.
use.
Does the high school have a subscription, not necessarily because it's one to, I mean, I know they used to buy ProQuest, InfoTrack, those things that have this on there, not necessarily educated about the program.
Well, we still have databases. Actually, right now, we used to be a member of the South Carolina Library Network.
Yeah.
But there was still, all the libraries were interested in still acquiring those databases that we got from South Carolina Library Network. And so the Regental system took the lead in negotiating pricing, still statewide pricing. And now the state library actually pays the cost for all of the public libraries in the state to have the EBSCO and ProQuest or databases. So we still have those. And actually, just this year, a new contract was negotiated. And in the EBSCO, there's an EBSCO newspaper database. And I think the more current Mitchell papers are in there, and it's just going to be the original articles that were written by Mitchell paper journalists. Anything that came off the wire can't be in the copyright. But so newer, the last few years articles would be in the EBSCO database, but this gives us the historical, which is a wonderful thing.
So this new South Dakota Newspaper Archive, is that where you're saying it's only those written by,
No,
that's
cover
the
to
whole
cover.
newspaper?
Yeah, that's,
Okay, so this was something that you were talking about?
yeah.
Okay, okay. I wasn't sure if that was something different, is it? Okay,
So probably next month, I will come to you with a spending request.
okay, and just to recap, Kevin, then, on the receipt printer, you'll need the check signed for that?
Yeah.
Okay, and we're gonna get that from Dakota Wesleyan.
Mhm.
And then, we did not get one of the state library grants, but we're waiting for another one for things
We're
like
gonna-
the Wi-Fi.
We're going to
And,
submit an application for another one.
okay,
For-
okay, so, and if you have more to say, I'm sorry that I interrupted.
Nope.
But the thing about the Wi-Fi is, I know Deb has expressed how important that is for the students. And so that's why I really wanted to talk about it today. So I kind of hate to wait a whole another month on that Wi-Fi. You know what I'm saying? Because those students might need that. I just think being able to have that as a service for our high school students, especially high school students, if we get sent home again, which is certainly a possibility, and even if not, it's still something I think we should provide. So is there some sort of way we could, if something happens early on in this next month, that we could, is there any way we can do a provisional something or other, or what? I'm not, do you know what I'm asking?
Here's what I was going to propose when we get to financial report proposals. I mean, I was also going to talk about that.
Okay, so am I jumping ahead of the gun? Because we can wait until then.
You're segueing. You're a wonderful segue.
Oh, there you go.
Um,
Put that on my resume.
well,
Yeah. Good segue here.
okay, I guess first, I had the two budget reports. I don't know if anybody has.
Do you want to approve the director's report first?
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh.
So and this is where I say, do I have a motion to accept the director's report?
So moved.
And a second? Okay. And we don't really, we've discussed as we went along, but is there any other discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on, financial report and approval of bills.
Here are the reports for July, the expenditures report of where we are, and then the detailed report as to what was all spent in the month of July. I will point out in repairs and maintenance, if you go over, it's 4345.93, which that account only has $1,500 in it. So we're over there, but I mean, though the cost, the expenses there had been pre-approved by, because there were some.
It was when our,
We had mechanical.
yeah, it was our steel rooftop units that were, the thermostat didn't work.
So probably some of those extra expenses would be paid out of the city's contingency fund, is the way it was explained to me, or if,
So, we'll see where we finish,
November,
yeah.
December, and
or if we don't spend all of the library's budget, to be covered extra. And then the only other thing is, water sewer is higher than I would have expected with the library being closed. Did water sewer rates go up?
I think water rates did, didn't
But I
I mean, we're okay in terms of the year. but-
don't we get billed quarterly for that?
yeah.
Oh, do they?
Oh, and if it's like your home one, then they no, that's not
For
it.
some reason, I think the city bills those quarterly. I could be
Yeah,
wrong.
Those, I think, those are only quarterly. That's why.
So we
They're
might
not-
be,
They're not monthly on water.
So that would still be 6 months, which would be over half of it.
Yeah.
And again, with the library being closed, March, April, a lot of May. But overall, I'll just say, of the $407,000 that we spent, that's 57% of our budgeted amount. And of July, is month 7, and that, 7 months out of 12 is 58%. So we're on track.
So, back to that repairs and maintenance, do we need to figure out where we're gonna pay for it from? Will it come out of the trustees' budget if the city doesn't?
No, that'll come from the city. 'Cause
Okay, so
it's building related and operational.
okay, so it's not really something we need to
And-
address today.
It'll end up looking at the total budget under current expenses of budget of 82,409. Where are we in relation to 82,409 on the total, and then can it be taken from one of the other?
Okay.
items that might be under, but we can't take salary
Okay.
differences and use it to pay for expenses.
Okay, all right.
Nor
Well, I don't
capital
know about that.
Nor
It
capital outlay.
It needs to come out of the current.
Out of the 82,409 that we had in the current budget, we'll see where we are on that at the end of the year. Hopefully, we're still under, and then you're over on maintenance and under on something else.
And I was informed by Stephanie that, I need to, to save at least $13,000 from the budget, because of
The retirement payout.
because of the
Or the
compensated
compensation.
absences.
Yes.
So,
And I'm hoping you should be able to get that with a reduction in part-time and our hours being down. But that was the discussion we had at council on related to that. So the mayor asked where we stood on that. You're John Dosher today, so yeah.
Okay, and then do we need to approve that first before bills, or is it just all, okay?
Yeah.
So now I have invoices to submit for approval. An invoice for $50 from Sydney Ledeke. This is something that had been approved previously. It was a Zoom presentation, how to create the torn paper collage. So that was one that they had come to you for
Is that one
approval.
of the summer programs?
Summer
Part of the
reading
programming?
program. Yeah. And then another summer reading program, the Karen Land, they did a dog mushroom presentation, that was $75. And then an invoice for $1,282.05 for Scholastic books that were purchased for the summer reading and out to the children.
Okay, I think we had, didn't we have a limit on those summer expenses? And is that all part of that, or?
So Jean Patrick put together a sheet saying how much she would be spending, so that's all part of what she put
And
together.
we're within that limit?
That I don't know, I did.
Do you know, Kevin?
I don't know, I'd have to go back and see
Okay.
what.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
two speakers sound like they're part of it, and I don't remember what the other was, so.
She had it pretty well detailed.
Yeah.
I'd say it's probably good.
Yeah, I'm guessing it probably is fine too, and if it's not, then I'm good with, approval.
And then the other invoice, even though you approved it last month for spending money to buy a printer, a receipt printer for up to $400, this is the invoice for $150.
Okay, okay.
So those are the invoices.
And are they listed on this report somewhere, or?
They are not, and I'm sorry.
No, I just,
I will next.
that's
I will
okay, I just didn't know if I'm not looking in the right page.
have a listing of invoices.
Sure. That's fine, I mean, I don't have a problem with that, I'm just.
Can we approve that one based on it?
Oh, okay.
In line with the plan?
Sure, you can make a motion now.
Like I said, I'm guessing it is. but
Yeah.
I guess that that must be there. I mean, that's, yeah, I know.
I'm sorry, Diana, I was distracted by my announcement, what were you talking about?
Okay, I just asked if we could approve it with, on the contingent, on a, if it's consistent with Jean's proposal.
Yeah, yeah, I would say that it sounds like it is, so that we kind of already approved it.
Well, yeah, and since I wasn't here,
Yeah.
For that.
Right.
I
Sure,
I
appreciate it.
wanted to make sure that
Absolutely.
I
So you
brought
can
them
make
to-
a motion to approve the bills on the condition.
Okay, I'll do that. I move to approve the bill on condition that it's consistent with Jean's proposal.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so,
And
does
then
that,
the other thing is, just to get back to your.
Oh, yeah.
or your question about Wi-Fi access. We could do it a couple of ways. If I include the $3,000 for, wireless access points in that grant and it gets approved, I mean, it sounds like they won't take a lot of time, reviewing and waiting to approve them. They'll approve them fairly quickly after the deadline for applications. We could get it paid for that way, or you could maybe say, well, we'll just go ahead and pay the $3,000 and we could have Andrew order the equipment and get moving on that right away. And if we get that grant, use it for the door locks, the video, people counter, and furniture.
I would like to at least do that somehow contingency, at least the Wi-Fi part. The rest of it, we can wait and see what the grant does. But I guess my feeling is that we should do that and approve that, whether that gets, so have Andrew go ahead and do whatever he needs to do to get ready to do it. If we get grant money for it,
Are there some kind of parameters within the grant application? If it's something that you've already have, you can't apply for?
I did not see anything because I don't even have to submit a detailed budget with bids for this, because it's CARES Act money to help institutions.
and so is that $3,000, because I had forgotten what price we were talking
It was like 29
Okay.
something.
Okay,
Right under $3,000.
for the Wi-Fi part.
Yeah.
And what did you apply for that grant? How much is that, or you just,
That was $20,000.
$20,000?
Can apply for.
So any discussion on that? I mean, what do you guys think about? It's not in,
It's not available outside of the building.
So where are people getting their hold of it at 1 o'clock in the morning?
You'd have to basically be sitting right outside the front door.
Well, no, there's good Wi-Fi access on the north side of the building, on the parking lot, and you can park in the street. Or you can park in the street, and there are every afternoon, or most every afternoon, it's interesting, there are some teenagers who sit on that stoop on the north side of the building.
Yeah, right outside that front door area.
Grab our Wi-Fi, but in the parking lot on the west side, there's no Wi-Fi, and we've talked about, or you all have talked about in the past, my understanding is, extending the wireless network out there so that students who don't have Wi-Fi at home can come to the parking lot of the library.
That's fine. I haven't been a part of that earlier discussions with that.
well, I feel like when we were talking about it, there was all sorts of a range on how far it could go. And I feel like we should, I mean, I don't know that we need to decide exactly what that range needs to be, but I feel like at least the parking lot should be covered, because then those kids that need to come to the library for their Wi-Fi can, I mean, what do you feel, Deb? Because you were the one.
There's a lot of kids that don't have Wi-Fi.
And do we need to go out farther at this point, or is that something we can fine tune later?
I would think you can find it later, but as long as you can extend it to the parking lot.
Yeah,
They're not sitting up in the window filling for
Mm-hmm.
right, right, right. So, my feeling is that if we don't need to put in a detailed budget and we could purchase it and still use that money, that I think we should go ahead with purchasing it. And then if we get the grant or part of the grant or whatever, then we can fine tune on how we do this. But I mean, this has been a board priority for a long time, and it hasn't happened, so.
Is there a bandwidth concern? Something sounds like a one-time expense, but if you're boosting that kind of bandwidth out there when we run out of bandwidth, or where's the limit on the bandwidth? So that sounds like that's
You'd have to ask
additional
Andrew.
expense ongoing then, right?
I don't know. That's a technical question for
I'm with you.
Yeah, but I think that is a point that. I'm not opposed to it, pushing it out further, there is likely to be an additional cost to have that.
I feel like that was part of a discussion, but I don't remember the answer.
I didn't know that on campus we had
Talk to
bandwidth
them.
issues, people started gaming more, so then we're sucking down bandwidth for gaming and streaming services, like they were watching TV and there were all these things, and so that equipment is just the tip of the iceberg.
I feel like,
Because we already have the bandwidth.
yeah, I feel like,
That they haven't wanted.
And again, I don't know what the package is that the library has.
And I don't know if the city does any type of shaping of bandwidth so that, certain types of
Yeah,
streaming,
I don't
I don't know.
know.
But,
I have to check with
Andrew, yeah.
Do we know, how many students or people generally would take advantage of this? I mean, do we see cars parked, and I don't know that, do we see cars parked in the library car park on a regular basis? Or do we know that it's definitely being used?
Well, in the parking lot, no, now, because there isn't that access there. But I have been told that, on the north side of the building, cars will park there.
Sure. But I'm all in favor of making it extend to the perimeters of the parking lot. I just want to make sure that if we put the equipment out there, we have the bandwidth to service it.
So, I guess my only thought is if we're trying to address a need for students who don't have Wi-Fi access at home, do we know that these students have cars? Because if they don't, in the winter, if the becomes unusable, is there a bigger need for some kind of a shelter? I mean,
There-
because otherwise,
There might be, we do have information and visual proof of parents with their kids sitting in their cars at the middle school in the wintertime. For the kids to do their homework.
Yeah, sure, yeah, okay. I was thinking, trying to make sure,
So,
usable year-round.
another place where the same thing potentially could happen
Yeah.
and make that the library, I think the whole issue of not having Wi-Fi or living in a rental house or whatever you want to look at it is probably bigger than we can address as the library board, but to be able to say that it's available on weekends and other stuff, and we'd have to check, because I know the question of can we shape it or throttle it, and that, yes, it's possible to do that, but then from our standpoint of the library board asking the city, can we have it, these parameters for the Wi-Fi at the library, either 24 hours a day or till midnight, or if we have, the city has a curfew time for kids under 16, so maybe you shut it down during that time from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. and that type of stuff. But
When the library's open, I don't know what it will be in the school year.
Yeah,
We used to go until 9 o'clock.
yeah, we don't know how often the library is going to go. That's something we need to also discuss with them.
More comfortable for them to come.
I know our kids would go until 9 o'clock, but if the library won't be open
Well,
until 6.
and I'm not opposed to having it 24 hours a day. If, people work weird hours and they
Right.
can come to the library and be there at 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't have a problem with that, right? I mean, that's not a concern of mine, because I do believe that people will take their kids and put them in the car and come to the library or whatever, right? But I just think that, do we have the bandwidth to push it to the parking lot efficiently so they can do their work out there?
I believe we do, but we need
And that's
to check with.
And, when I asked Andrew, the guy, for, the quotes, he never said that there would be an issue, and just because people are struggling, he never said that there'd be an issue with.
I feel like we talked about it, but I don't remember how we resolved it. Or maybe, I just feel like that came, yeah, I don't really either, but. So I guess my direction would be move ahead with Andrew and try to find out these couple things. And I don't know if we can say to go ahead and purchase it then, or.
That's the only issue. I'm all for trying to get it done, but we don't have it documented on the agenda as a
Separate item.
item to, right.
Okay.
And so, maybe we can say, do all the research and order it, and if it doesn't come in the grant, then give us the request for purchase once you know. But I think we can give you that direction
If it comes
today,
in the
'cause
grant,
we shouldn't have to pay for it before we have our next meeting.
No, because I'm sure,
true,
even if we ordered it, I don't know how soon it would
Correct.
get here.
right.
So,
I don't have an issue proceeding with that, and from my side, if it all falls through and we ended up with it and no grant and all that type of stuff, we just purchase it with the trustees' money as a separate item and go.
Yeah,
And
that's
as a-
what I'd like to
as
do.
a-
I don't know
As
that
a
process.
fallback, I have no problem with that being
Okay.
the fallback. If it doesn't get approved through the grant and all that, but I'd like the research of what are we getting and coverage and bandwidth and et cetera for the $2,900+ I don't know if we're getting just an extender or what,
well, I know there
What
was
it
at least
includes-
2 access points.
at least two,
Yeah,
okay.
there was 2 access points.
And I thought they were
Another
outside wall mounted and
Yeah,
type
incentives,
stuff.
and,
Yep.
incentives to direct it out there.
Yep. Because I know we talked, I mean, you can go up to 1,500 feet, and like, well, we don't want to go all the way across the street, and all the houses on Third could do the same thing, and now they're all gaming off of the public available Wi-Fi from the library, but if we had enough bandwidth and they were doing that at weird hours, I'm not sure I'd care too much, but, yep.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's, it's not really a motion.
I think we probably do.
I,
mean, I guess I kind of see it similar to maybe what we did last month with the receipt printer.
Receipt
that you
printer.
approve-
Sure.
That you approve the ordering of it with, well, with the hope that it will be paid for by grant and,
if not, we can use trustees' account as a fallback.
I mean, because the receipt printer wasn't a separate item on
Right, on
last
it
month.
either.
Either.
Okay.
It was
So-
under bills.
I will make the motion to do the research on the wireless access point items that we talked about previous, get the information from Andrew on, right, how it would be set up, and make sure it's applied for in the grant, that it closes on August 31st. And if that doesn't come to fruition through the grant, or the timing isn't correct, we can pay for that from the trustees' account.
Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So are we done with the financial report and approval of bills?
Yes.
At the end of the year, if we have any money left in our budget, we'll have to, we'll look at next year.
Nope.
Not the city budget, but, we have our own accounts that we're there for. But,
Where does the trustee money come from?
On this sheet, so copies, subscriptions, miscellaneous, interlibrary loan, all that money is ours,
Along with the money from Davison County.
along with the money from Davison County, the $6,500 per year. It's got to be like 4 years ago, we looked at kind of it was right after we quit doing fines.
Mhm.
It looked like we could generate, and again, you got to assume 2017 things, generate about $18,000 a year through the normal activities, book sales, copies, subscriptions, county money, all of that as that comes in for the operation things for the library is trustees per lawsuit in courts in South Dakota. Many years ago.
So all the other cost stuff and everything else, okay, but,
Correct.
and we don't have to worry about that, but that's.
Well,
We prepare it, and so we have to worry about it if we say, in 2021, based on the information that we know, maybe we're not going to be open as much. Or maybe we're going to close on particular days. I'm not saying that's good, but we probably aren't going to be open the same amount of hours in 2021 as we were in 2019 or 2018 for sure, right? Who knows this year? So that could impact what our staffing needs to be. Maybe we want to change our staffing, or maybe we want to, our book purchases or our media, I'll call it media information purchases instead of just books, we shift one way or another that causes, well, instead of $45 or $50 or $60,000, we want $80,000, but then we need to make that balance to still either stay under the 3-year average, or if our hours go down from, we were open like about 3,000 hours a year, what if it goes down to 2,500? We certainly don't have 3,000 hours worth of staffing anymore. So we'll need to kind of have input for that. It's kind of weird this year, because good luck, I have no idea how,
And I guess,
taking the 3-year average isn't going to be,
Yeah, so we prepare, or Kevin mostly, will prepare that budget, submit it to the city is going to pay.
well,
and I-
and
what we
actually
do.
Jessica did already.
yeah. So that had to be in June?
And it starts when, calendar year?
Calendar year.
Okay.
And
It was really during the transition period,
Yeah.
new board, new director, new everything. We just had to have it in, so we went off the 3-year average, and that's what we submitted as our 3-year average on
I can
everything.
let you know, actually today I just got the link to the council's information by department of proposed budget. I haven't looked at it yet, I just got it in an email at 12:30 today, but I'll look to see what the
Well-
library proposal is. I guess it probably knows, Kevin knows.
And we had a meeting with the mayor and Stephanie and Michelle, that week last Friday at 11. And, I think pretty much the request as Jessica submitted them, are going to move forward. Stephanie did her 3-year averaging and that type of thing. Probably the one area that was reduced from the requested amount was part-time staff. The requested amount, I think, was $49,000.
We just did what has been requested in the past, because that was the safest and easiest way to do it.
And so I think that Stephanie, based on, just overall requests, for all citywide departments and what, in order to come to a balanced budget, that was an area where it should be.
The other thing that was taken out was the computers. IT requested we put money in for new computers because they've met their useful life expectancy. So, but that was taken out, so if that's something the trustees would want to purchase, that would be on the trustee account.
Okay.
And I think that's something that Stephanie said, her expectation would be that the trustee account would pay for some computer upgrades with, having over $100,000.
Right, so that sounds like something that maybe you could bring to the board.
So we can talk about that.
Yeah.
But that's what you put in your grant application.
Well,
Okay.
yeah.
That's true too, so we can wait and see what happens there. The other thing, Kevin, is if you could give us just a one-liner on what our balance is on that account.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. But it's around 100,000, isn't
It's
it?
over, I know, as of July, it's over 100,000.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so just, if you could just somehow include that somewhere.
We could probably put that checkbook register, and that would have everything,
Yeah.
your checks and everything, so that way.
Yeah,
these are the
that's
checks
fine,
when
just
approved.
somehow so we kind of get an idea. Because we have it, we need to spend some.
Yeah.
Sorry, another question, a little bit financial related. So the city owns the building on the land of the So if we wanted to do something like install outdoor seating to make our Wi-Fi more usable in the summer months, would the city cover that because it's public land, or would we have to cover that ourselves?
If it wasn't budgeted and the city didn't have it contingency and we couldn't convince them to do that, one, we'd need, potentially need approval if it's land modification. And then if we wanted to do it in a time frame that the city wasn't available or ready to do it, then we could purchase it with trustee account. The issue with that is either ongoing expenses or maintenance and other things that as we kind of have to watch doing an enhancement that then is ongoing expenses for the city.
Anything else? Okay, so I think we've already had a motion and a second, have we, for the financial report?
Yeah, that was our.
Yeah, so, and so all in favor? Say aye, have we done that already?
Yeah, for the grant, Steve made the motion, Diana seconded.
Okay, but then the overall financial report and approval of bills, I
Okay,
think
I'll
we
move
need.
approval of the financial report.
Okay. And a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. So, moving on to committee reports, we don't really have committees.
Not yet.
Communication and correspondence, moving on to that. Anything, Kevin?
No, I received no communication or correspondence.
Okay, and then unfinished business, I think this is part of what Stephanie was saying, that we need to kind of change something in the bylaws so that the agenda is like it's supposed to be. Do you know what she's talking about,
Well,
Kevin?
this-
I mean, I would
Told-
help you.
Yeah, she said that this is these items now that she redesigned the agenda are specified in the bylaws. So
But,
at some point we
but
probably want
she wanted us
We
to
want
look at the
look
bylaws.
Bylaws that
She
maybe have
recommends-
finished businesses.
Right, and instead just list what they are, because.
Right.
All right. So unfinished businesses, there's
There's
anything
none.
there? I think that we just did. Okay, so new business then, the third signatory on the Board of Trustees account. What do we need to do with that? I thought that was last month, actually.
So we did the second, we need the third person.
Oh, and that's right, because we didn't have that listed
Because right now
quite
it's
right
just you
last
and
year.
Kevin.
Okay, so we need a motion that we have a third signature, and then we are going to include the vice president, which is Dennis Nath.
Mhm.
And then Jessica, you can send those notes to the bank,
Mhm.
and then even like myself and Kevin will have to re-sign again.
Yeah.
And then you'll kind of let us know on
Yeah.
that. Okay,
Okay, I will move that we add a third signatory to the bank account, and it would be the vice president. I
second.
don't want to name a name.
Actually,
I
you
need
do
to
have to name a
for the
name.
bank?
You do have to name a
Okay,
name for the bank.
Current Vice President Dennis Knapp.
Okay, so do we have a second? Any further discussion? Okay, everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Plan for part-time staff?
I put that on, I've had all the part-time staff, well, Ada is currently working back at work 10 to 4 because one of our full-time staff members is retired. And so, but the other 3 part-time staff members have all contacted me asking, when will we get to come back to work? and I said, I'll talk to Jessica. And Jessica said, you have to talk to the board, because the board voted to, curtail part-time staff employment while we have the reduced hours. And then I talked to Stephanie too, and she told me that. So I wanted to bring that to let you know that they're asking. I mean, I think they would understand. Or, Jim even said, well, if we could just even have a few hours a week working. I guess for me personally, I think if we brought part-time staff back a few hours a week, that would allow full-time staff. I mean, there are some things that I would like to accomplish, like looking at the bylaws or reviewing policies and updating policies. And, if we had part-time people that take a few hours more at the circulation desk, I could have, I would maybe ask Jean, Patrick, and Zach to look at some policies and start, drafting some updates to what we have, or even some other policies. Something else I have, that state library grant that we applied for and didn't get. I think maybe one reason was we were supposed to submit a technology plan to the library. We don't have one. So we grabbed the city's technology plan that had a little section about the library, but nothing real full-blown. So there are some planning and policies, but I also understand the budgetary implications. And so I understand that if we say no, I tell the part-time employees that we're continuing with the furlough until further notice. They get paid for the hours worked. Some of them up to 20. One of them could only work because of her retirement, state retirement or whatever. She could only work less than 20. I had a call from Sarah Bartunik this afternoon, even asking again, and she said, well, that's okay. I will probably just submit my resignation. And if there's a position, when we hire, I may reapply for it. Which I did understand why she would want to resign and then reapply. But I think she also wanted to have some certainty that, I'm not working in there anymore. I'll go up to Department of Justice.
So what would we need to do to bring in some part-time staff? I mean, what's that process?
So we would need to set the either hours change or how many hours per week we would want part-time, and I guess that's just up to us. But I guess my question kind of is, you identified maybe some time you could use if you had some part-time people there. would like to get through the next couple of weeks of school starting and kind of see what happens before I would think that we want to be either open more hours or maybe have better staffing type stuff with part-time people. But I also thinking if you could, how many hours per week total? And then if I projected that through the end of the year, how does that fit into the $30,000 total budget amount? And we need to know that we're going to save X amount to cover the other thing. So, I mean, if you come back and say, here's dollar and cents wise, and I'm going to still be open the same hours, at least that's your idea, at 10 hours a week of part-time staff for, I don't know, maybe for the second pay period of September, because you have to start at a pay period, I'm assuming.
Yep.
Second pay period of September through the end of the year, what does that look like?
And is this tied somehow to our reopening plan? Was that a tiered something?
Not really,
No, it was just now, this is where we're at.
yeah. And that's, we did bring back the one part-time because we did lose the full-time position.
Say that again?
We did bring back the one part-time employee because. we
Oh,
lost the
right,
full-time.
right.
But it's not at the full-time hours, it's at the part-time hours. It's
Still
just to
part-time hours.
cover while the library doors are open to the public.
Okay,
Whereas
and
the other
so,
librarians are working hours outside of when it's open to the public.
are there other departments in the city that have reduced hours related to COVID?
Yeah, Palo Transit's operating at very much reduced hours.
So, do we, or does the city decide when we might change those? And what criteria are we using?
That's you, as long as it's within those budget constraints.
Yep.
So, we just kind of picked those hours kind of based on what the library staff thought they needed at the time, but we never really talked about when are we,
How to get
when,
out of it.
yeah, what's our step?
Mhm.
Because like, I mean, like the school has tiers, this happens for here and otherwise for here. And so we don't really, now we're reduced and so that's where we're at. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
And I want to pick up on what Steve said about, the budget. We currently, where we are, we're at about 60%. We spend about 60% of the budgeted, amount for salary. So
Which is more than-
we have overspent, because of some of the payouts of.
Right.
Is that what the $1,000 in overtime?
No, that
That's
was a
something
different
different?
situation. That was work that was done in this was brought to the board a while ago. It's work that was done in 2019, but the timesheets getting turned in until 2020, so I had to get paid out of 2020's budget.
That was a human error last December.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's not new this month, that was,
No.
yeah, I kind of remember talking about that. Okay,
Um,
all right, so we don't really have the budget to bring them on, then, is what you're
Well,
saying.
you've got, and here's how I look, you've got $30,000 in part-time budget. You spent $558 this period. Prior year, we had spent $24,000. This year, we spent $11,800 out of the $30,000. So we have $18,000 of part-time money between now and the rest of the year in that budget.
Right.
So we spent
So,
40% of that, of
yep,
that,
and we're at about 60%
of the year.
of the yearly time.
Okay,
Okay, so my thought, to make up of the compensated absence, that 18,000 can't really go below 13,000.
Right.
At least that would be our target, right? Because it has to come out of somewhere in the salary, can't come out of the current expense.
so what's that 13,000, what's that number?
See where
Yeah.
that's compensated absence.
What does
that's
that
the-
mean?
That's for the
That's the
retirement.
payout for
Oh,
Jackie.
okay,
Get the retirements we had.
so our 18,000 is
And we will have,
really 5,000?
Correct.
Okay,
And Sandy has retired, so there'll be some.
So there'll be
payout.
some-
and then we
Oh.
have,
There.
and we have another retirement coming at the end of the year.
oh,
That
Right.
has
okay.
been
That would be a 2021 compensated. Is there any,
I think it might come out of 2020 still.
might come out of 2020
Yeah.
still?
All right, so Sandy?
Do we know how much that is?
We don't.
Okay.
Depends on when the retirement
Oh, I
date
see.
is.
Sandy has retired. And then you said there's another one?
She did say December 31st, so it could come out of 2021. But if it happens in 2020, they have to backdate it, so.
So, those are a couple unknowns that could, we'd have the same type of December debacle that we had last year. That here's an expense that we didn't know about until January.
Well, that one
But-
can be planned in a sense.
But
Are we saying then that if we had stayed open on the normal hours, we would have gone way over our budget than we have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
we would have had to cut back on,
Something else?
Okay, so it doesn't get to the end of the year and the city says, oh, no problem, we'll discuss that with our.
No.
no.
No, we would have had to say, we need to figure out how to get back within that budget.
Yep. So
We would,
assuming there's no other compensated absences or that we can figure that out, yes, we have about $5,000 maybe that we can play with in part-time
So is this,
salary, and so if we did a couple hours a week for the rest of the year, where are we in relation to $5,000?
and is this 13,000, is that the one employee, or does that include this newer employee?
that's
Just the one?
that's the one.
That's for Jackie.
Okay. All right, so do you understand what Steve's asking? Because I'm not quite clear, but,
Well, yeah, and so we have basically, if we would start September 1, we have,
Whatever
we have 4, yeah, I mean, we have 4 months there, and so if we had $750 to $1,000 a month in part-time compensation for those last 4 months.
We could cover it with $5,000.
yeah.
And we be able to still save a little bit more.
Unless,
I mean, again.
but we're
we
going to
don't
have
know
some more
yet.
compensated,
I don't know if we, that's.
right?
Yeah, there's going to be more coming out, so.
Did you research that?
We can
Is
maybe
there-
we'd have to have HR do like a projection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they could,
I mean, Liz,
Give us
yeah,
that
Liz has
projection.
just told me.
The only
that-
problem is you don't know how much vacation they're going to take or not
Right.
take during
Right.
that time.
Liz has told me for Sandy's retirement, there's not, she didn't have much.
There's not much.
So it's not much.
Okay, so it won't be
But
anything
I
like
don't, but I
13,000?
haven't heard an amount.
yeah.
Okay,
To me, it seems like there are a couple of considerations, right? One is what's the work that isn't being done that needs to be done?
Correct.
And prioritizing that and then figuring out who the best part-timer is to do it. Therefore comes up with a cost, but also, what if we decide to go back to 4 hours next week? That's a separate scenario, right? And then how do we cover that? Then do we have a plan in place so that we know what that cost would be, or that who would start, or, so do we need to have that plan, that phase plan like you were talking about, you know, for the, like, schools that are going, do we need to have that kind of thing in place with costs allocated to it so we have better projections for the rest of the year?
Well, and related to reopening, I mean, at this point, if I would request that we not plan for at least another month to extend the hours because we just don't know what's going to happen. Once school starts tomorrow,
everything's
that,
kind of predicated on.
K-12, and then colleges start next week, and people are coming together. We just don't know how much of spread there's going to be. And so I don't know that we want to extend our hours greatly until we have a better idea of
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I agree, that's a good plan, so.
I'm just saying that if in a month's time we decide we do want
Yeah.
to extend the hours, how do we cover that from a staff perspective, and how much does it cost?
Right, and so do we, is that something,
Maybe to your plan, that in a month, after school's ready, testing for a month, then you can look at, going back to the part-time people, because then you're looking at 3 months,
right,
you know, versus 4, and
right.
you'll know how much.
And we'll know a little bit more about the second retirement, on how much we're going to have to, you know, what's that called, compensated absence.
If you would like, I can then get the payout for Sandy, find that out from HR, and put together kind of a tiered plan, or put together a plan to bring to you next month. they also wanted to know kind of when.
Yeah, when you talk to HR, and get an estimate on Sandy's, maybe they could give a rough estimate on whoever is the other one that said that they're going to be done. Who is that, or can you say, or would you rather not? It's fine if you don't.
I don't know if you can.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Maybe just, is it 1,000 or is it 50,000? I mean, if they would maybe have a little bit of idea. And then that, you know what I'm asking for?
We can at least give you worst-case scenario if this person doesn't take any more vacation from here on.
True, yep.
So when we're talking about payout, just if I'm not really following the contract, the payout is a redundancy, is a retirement, is a paying out people's vacation, what exactly is it?
It's vacation and sick.
Vacation and sick?
Mhm. You get 25% of your sick.
Okay. And so Jackie got $13,000 for that?
Vacation and sick, yes.
And Sandy, although she was disciplinary action, she still gets that.
It was a retirement.
And what are the contracts?
Do you get all of the vacation pay?
Mhm.
Okay. And then 25% of your sick? Okay.
And that's going to change in January, right?
Mhm.
End of the term period. Yep. So people who've been here a long time have an incentive to retire before the end of the year.
South Dakota retirement is changing along with city retirement rules.
Yep.
So, but the question is, you mentioned some things that are not being done that need to be done. Is there work that needs to be done at the library that isn't being done, like our staff that we need to worry about, and how the part-time staff fall?
Well, I'll ask you three. When I read the minutes from your meeting, the last 6 months, there were things the last year and goals that were set. It doesn't necessarily appear to me that some of that was done. There are things that need to be updated. But I'm still feeling like I'm ramping up and trying to get a handle on everything. But I also need to start ordering more books, because if we don't, then we're going to have a savings in some of the capital outlay, which the council may be happy with that too. I don't know, but if we don't have new materials for people to read, then the collection doesn't get used as much. We don't have as much
Right.
higher circulation. So, but I think as another thing I have to do as part of this is, and we'll talk a bit more in the executive session about redesigning the position too. And I think moving forward, as we can redesign some positions and have some different assignments, maybe do away with cutting and pasting the obituaries, we'll be able to do other things.
Yeah, and that's, I think, something that that's within your discretion as a library director. So, and how you use that staff is within your discretion. And that was things that we had talked about in, things, these aren't getting done. That doesn't mean that the library director needs to do this specific task. They need to make sure this specific task gets done. And I think there was a little disconnect with that, where I feel a little more confident that now that would get done.
But
Time to do this, Kevin, because on the one hand, you've got the pandemic, which makes it difficult to figure out what we need, and then we're used to the role and reviewing things, and so
Right.
it's really hard to say, this is how the library operates, and this is what
Right.
needs to be done, and these are the hours, it's really difficult to say that at the moment.
And so, if I can ask for, a few months to, it'll take, I think, there's going to be a transition period to come up
That's
with
1 month.
a plan, so.
Yeah.
So in regards to the part-time, going back to the part-time staff, what we've done in our department, the mayor told us, don't bring staff back just to bring them back, to have them have their jobs back, which is nice. But to bring them back, if you have something for them to do, as long as it's in your budget constraints. So what we've done is, we brought back the part-time staff when we need it, how we need it, as long as it fits within the budget. And I think that's maybe something that the library should look at doing too, is,
Right, and that's kind
That's
If
kind of
we-
what you're asking.
yeah,
isn't it?
if we can say, you know, I want to get these things done, and if I have
right,
10 hours on this week, and 8 hours on this week, and 4 hours on this week, and
Right.
then maybe the next week I need 10, and see what holes actually need to be filled between, I'll pick the second pay period of September to the end of the year.
right.
How many hours is that, and does that fit within where you think you need to balance? And if that then allows
Mm.
you to do some other planning, or some other full-time people to do a couple things, or that type of stuff, I don't see a problem with that, but fiscally, I want to know where that makes us end up.
And I'll bring that next month.
If you could,
Yeah.
that might be kind of tough to get in a month, but,
Well,
because you're
but,
going to have
I mean, I
changes
think-
every day.
you know, there are things,
Ask them, and then you know, you can find out about the other retirement, and you quickly, even the
Right,
vacation, and just have kind of a.
And maybe you can decide,
right, an idea.
these are the 5 things I want to get done by the end of November or something.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I mean, another half a month, you know, down the road, another 2 weeks. But, I mean, I'll also be able to talk to the full-time staff to say, okay, what do we want to accomplish, and what would, you know, and
How long is that
here are
going to
some
take you?
things that I would like to work on if
Right,
we have some part-time help, that you don't have to spend as much time at the circulation desk.
right.
You know, but I would work with the staff, the full-time staff to come up with that.
Okay?
Okay, all right,
Thank you.
so we're good there. So, do we have any action we need to do on that plan for part-time staff?
I do.
Okay,
I have
We
my
do.
action orders.
okay. I kind of meant, do we need to like make any motion or anything like that? Okay, and I'll wind this up here soon. So citizens input, there's no one here, so we'll skip that. Board input, I guess I would just like to say, I thought it was a really nice article on our new director, Kevin, in the newspaper, and some great pictures, and I thought it was really well done. So thanks for participating and being cooperative in that. I was glad we had something, because I was kind of like, should we be doing something to promote our new director? And so it was nice to see that article.
Well, and Eric had actually contacted me,
Who's Eric?
the journalist who wrote the
Oh, okay,
wrote the article.
Okay.
He had contacted me around the 4th, or about the time that actually, I think it was the day or the day after my dad died.
oh,
And
oh,
so
I'm
he
sorry.
said, I'll wait
Good.
until after you start.
I'm
So-
sorry to hear that.
Which I'm glad he did, because, you know, I had
Oh.
a week or so in the job that I could also know more.
Sure, well, great.
Speak better to him.
Any other board input? Okay, so the executive session, I'm not exactly sure the process.
I will move we go into executive session in accordance with SDCL 125-2.
Do I have a second? Okay,